Hello, everyone. Monaco64 here. Nice to see a lot of you waiting already. You know, of course, that I start earlier. My live stream's about 10 minutes early. So those of you who are watching recorded, if you don't want to listen to me saying hello to everyone, just skip about 10 minutes where we'll cover the main topic. And I've got a special guest here today. There he is, Rudy. Say hello to everyone, Rudy. That's a good boy. Good boy. So we've got Moonraker from sunny and humid North Carolina. Scoobyism 3, what's happening in France. We'll talk about that. I'll give you my 2 cents on that. Spock 2024. It's not hot here in the UK. It was really pleasant today. It was about 68, 70 degrees. It was even a bit chilly this morning. I did play golf today. It was a good day for golf. Endurorama says hi, Mario and Rudy. Dennis from Beirut, Lebanon. Good to see Dennis from Beirut. Scoobyism 3, you'll miss Rudy. Nah, I don't miss Rudy. He's here. Petrohead says hi, Mario. Hi, everyone. Banks have been shutting accounts for years, particularly Santander. Rain is warm here in Dublin. Greg Austin says, Mario, trying to maintain the hard-earned stack in an upcoming war zone. Mark C. from Billericay. I know that area. I mean, I haven't been around there for a while, but I had friends from there from work. I used to play a bit of golf in Essex at Maylands Golf Club. Manic Miner is here. Silver Task, moderator. Thank you, Silver Task, being a moderator. James Bond thinks CBDC is a smoke screen. Tim Gibson, get down, Monaco. Rudy, he wants to go under the desk, so you can go down now, Rudy. Say goodbye to everyone. We had a nice walk this evening, Rudy. We went for a long walk, and he met a couple of dogs, some friends. He particularly likes a dog called Poppy. She's a Schnauzer. They get along quite well. She's 1.5. And Rudy turned 7 months yesterday. Ismar Didic from bankrupt France. Well, it's not only France that's bankrupt. I think the whole West is bankrupt. Nigel Farage wants to know if someone can lend him some cash for a few months. Pablo Pina, hi Pablo. Monaco Saturdays. Well, it's Sunday today, but 110 degrees Fahrenheit in California. Here in England, it was a nice English summer's day, not too hot, not too cold. So it was quite nice. Nick Jones, do you think the government has been right to block people's ability to live based on their political opinions? Of course I don't. Of course I don't. I'm all for individual freedom. And that's why I've been a proponent of sound money, because without fiat currency, governments cannot abuse their power. Governments and corporations, for that matter. In this case, it's the banks. I think this story shows that the banks are in charge. Yeah, the banks are in charge of the government. It's not the government that's in charge. In the end of the day, without the banks and the central banks, the governments can't really function like they do. They can't, you know, they can't get as big as they have. And that's why I've been telling people as well, I don't know if Nigel Farage stacks gold and silver, but he wouldn't be that worried, I would say, if he had quite a bit of gold and silver stacked away. I know that canceling someone's bank account and having all other big banks do the same, like not let him open an account, is very disruptive. But who knows? Maybe they're pushing people. Maybe we're going to go back to using coins, real money. And that's what I would say. So, yeah, has Nigel Farage crossed the line? That's the title of the live stream tonight. Crossed the line by opposing CBDC. And we're going to talk about that. We still got about 5 or 6 minutes to go. And I'm going to wait for everyone to come on. XRP Daddy, get Gerald Celente on your channel. Yeah, maybe I should. I've always enjoyed listening to Gerald Celente. I've listened to him for years. He can get a little bit animated, but he's got passion, I guess. XRP that Rudy is a pimp already. No. Is there any way Nigel could utilize Bitcoin? Well, the problem with that is it's really hard to pay all your bills with Bitcoin, isn't it? And not everyone accepts Bitcoin, and he'd have to go through an exchange. My wife was saying that apparently he had his a Coinbase account, and that was also closed. I'm not sure if that's true. Mr. Wonderful, why don't you contact Nigel? Yeah, maybe I should. It's interesting because when I worked in the city at MF Global, I worked there from 2004 to 2010. One of my colleagues, he was a client of Nigel Farage at one point, because Nigel Farage was a broker in the London Metals Exchange, LME, and the London Metals Exchange it's more an exchange for base metals. So yeah, that's where. I still, I remember. The colleague I had. Haven't been in contact with him, but I could try to contact Nigel Farage, see if he wants to be on. Internet of Bodies. CBDCs, I haven't heard of that. It's interesting. Jeffrey Morris. Belly Dance Ravers, Shalom all. Mr. Celente is brilliant, so his language. Yeah, his language is quite strong sometimes. The Life of Jules. Thanks, man. Love your channel from Bournemouth. Oh, great. Obsolete Professor. Picky Ricky, some banks and cards won't key your cash out from crypto. Yeah, I think they make it difficult for you to send money even to crypto exchanges. I still deal on some crypto exchanges, but only because I earn Steam and Hive and DTube. So I send those sometimes to, I think it's Huobi I use, HUOBI, and then I sell that for usually Ethereum or even what's it called, that USD, the Tether. And then I send it to I have an Uphold app where I can exchange those cryptos for fiat. So, but it doesn't go through my bank account, which is a good thing. You will see why I'm talking about Nigel Farage and CBDC, because I listened to Nigel Farage's little video where he talks about his accounts being canceled and the reason why he thinks they've done it. But I think he missed the CBDC part, and that's what we're going to look at. Why can't he just use cash? Well, because nowadays people get paid through wire transfers, and yeah, he could keep a lot of cash at home, but a lot of payments Yeah, now here in the UK, there's a lot of direct debits. Everything is done digitally. And I think the CBDC is going to be even worse because we already have a digital currency. The reason they're calling it the new CBDC is because I think they're going to put a lot of more controls. You know, if you eat too much meat, if you drive too much, if you take too many holidays and you fly too much, they will like warn you, I think. Joe Lahote from Atlanta, Georgia, I guess. Andrew Bevan, down, hello from cool South Wales. It's cool here in London too. It's a nice day. Uh, Joe says, smash the like buttons. Folks care about interest rates, inflation, financial markets, where the world could be heading. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. That's why I focus a lot on interest rates and the bond markets, and many people don't. You know, the average person out there, no one ever talks too much about bonds, and I think it's very important because it affects all of us. Gordon D from Ottawa. So we're going to start then. So yeah, the title is about Nigel Farage. You know, why have they? You know, I say that Nigel has crossed the line. Has he crossed the line by opposing CBDCs? So what the way I'm going to start here is talk about what Nigel Farage said, because this is the reason I'm making this video. And then we can expand a little bit, and then you can ask questions as well. We can look at some other topics here too. So I had a watch. Daniel Sanz says, Mario, you hardly share your knowledge on bonds. What do you mean you hardly? I always talk about, I always give talk about bonds. I'm not sure you're watching the channel, but anyway, Nigel Farage in his message the other day about his, I think it's 2 months ago, that's quite important as well. 2 months ago, he was told by his bank, he didn't give a name, but I think most people probably have figured out that it's probably NatWest. They contacted him 2 months ago that they're going to cancel his account. They gave him 2 months, right? So the first reason why he thinks they did that is because of a legal regulation, and he said it's a EU law, but it's been around for years. Because I remember when I was in the city, I had to do every year towards the end, I had to do like regulatory exams to make sure I kept my qualifications. And I knew about this PEP. It's called PEP, politically exposed persons. That's to like so compliance can make sure that clients that are politicians or related to politicians don't get bribes from foreign governments and things. So he thinks it could be that they could be using that PEP law, but he doesn't have, he said he said he hasn't done anything wrong, but apparently a lot of the banks think that, yeah, having him costs too much money compliance wise, even though banks now have a lot of compliance people. The second reason he gave is that basically the corporate world, of which the banks are the control really a lot of the corporations, they're upset with him because of Brexit. But I'm not too sure if it's because of that, because Brexit happened, the referendum was 7 years ago. Why now? But anyway, that's his second reason. The third reason is that he said that one of the Labour MPs, Chris Bryant, said something in Parliament under parliamentary privilege about him, that he took payments from the Russian government. And he denies that, but he can't really challenge or sue this guy because he said it in Parliament. So those are the three reasons. And then I thought, because you guys might have seen when you watch YouTube, sometimes when I watch YouTube, I get adverts, of course, like everyone does, unless you've paid, you can pay an amount a month not to see the adverts, but I don't mind watching some of the adverts. And I've seen Nigel Farage. He does a lot of work for South Bank Investment, I think. And I remember that he was talking about CBDCs and actually trying to warn people about it, that governments will have control over our lives with CBDCs. And I also found, and I'm going to share it with you now, because I looked up, and he did an interview with someone called Leah Heilpern about 4 months ago, which is like 2 months before he was warned by his bank that they're going to close his accounts. Indy, thank you for your super chat. And I'm going to play this for you guys so you can listen to it. Let's have a look here. I'm going to share it first. So I personally think this is the reason why he got into trouble, Nigel Farage. Here we go. Let me play it.
I told you it was coming. I said they'd go for central bank digital currencies, a cashless society, and the arguments for it are clear. It'll be quick, easy, cheap to transact. There'll be no problems at all, no loose change lying around. There'll be lots and lots of arguments for it. Well, this week, the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Bank of England have said by 2030, Britcoin, a central bank digital currency, will be up and running. It will, to begin with, be limited in scope, but with huge ambitions for the years to come. I think this could pose some real threats. It actually gives government pretty much total control over our lives, because they can just press a button and close our bank accounts. No, they wouldn't do that now, would they? Well, think about it. Those Canadian truckers, they were legally and lawfully going about their business driving trucks, but legislation came in demanding that unless they'd been double vaxxed, they couldn't continue in their cabins doing long-distance lorry driving. And they protested. And in the end, their bank accounts were closed down by the Canadian government. Well, with the central bank digital currency, anyone that decides to stand up and fight against the government could be pressed down simply with the push of a button. That is my concern. What is it all going to mean? But joining me down the line.
So there you go. That's why I think they canceled his account. He even said the government could close your account, and they have, even though it's the banks. So I think that was quite interesting. And I'm going to put a link to this if you want to listen to the rest of it. There's a link to the video. There you go. But I just want to show you guys that I've been speaking about this for quite a while. The first time I spoke about CBDCs here, I'm going to share this. This is from my, let's go. This is from my studio, actually. As you can see here, I spoke about CBDCs in 2021. I warned CBDC is the road to serfdom. CBDCs will be no panacea for inflation. CBDCs represent the biggest threat to civil liberties we've seen. I interviewed Jason Cousins of Glint, and he thinks the same. And I did, I talked about CBDCs with Clive Thompson back in November. We got, as you can see here, 557,000 views. So we have been covering this. And back in February, I spoke about CBDCs and the Britcoin, how the Bank of England and the Treasury, they're working on this Britcoin. And Nigel Farage is right. This is going to be over the next few years. They're not going to implement it this year or next year. They want to phase it in. And that's why I think they're trying to make his life difficult, because and I'm not giving a view here on whether I like Nigel Farage or not. I'm just telling you what I think is going on, because he's very popular in this country. He was the guy really who pushed for the UK to leave the EU. I know it was David Cameron who asked for the referendum back in 2015. But if Nigel Farage hadn't been so vocal against the EU, I don't think we would have gotten Brexit. And I think the government and the bankers, they see Nigel Farage as a threat to their CBDC. And I've seen some of you saying that he's just a controlled opposition, and that could be so. So let's see your questions then. Try to answer some questions here. Dave Romero, they made Nigel an everyday or someone that talks about their agenda. We can cancel you. Look at him, everybody. This can happen to you too. Yeah, if it can happen to someone who's quite influential like that and quite popular, it can happen to anyone. But the thing is, they can cancel you even now. So I saw a tweet here while I was preparing for the live stream. And this is about CBDCs as well. And it's from, here we go. It's from Richard Werner. He's a German economist. And he says, we've been using BDC, bank digital currency, for decades. And that's true. What's new with CBDC is not the D or the C. Banks have largely not abused their power over our transactions, except recently when central bank government got involved. Ottawa, Canada. That's what Nigel Farage is talking about. That's what CBDCs will be like. And then this guy here, gov.exe is corrupt. He says, yesterday's Twitter experience gave us a glimpse of what life would be like under totalitarian control. Daily limit reached. Try again later. This is the purpose of CBDCs. You drove too far, ate too much, and so on. Yeah, and about the Twitter event yesterday, when I was driving this morning to the golf club, I was listening to LBC radio, which I usually don't listen to, but I thought, why not? And someone came on and talked about Twitter, and apparently Twitter was negotiating a new cloud contract with Google. And I think they paid $1 billion over the last 3 years. And maybe it was one of the reasons why Twitter limited people reading or tweeting, because they don't have enough cloud. The other thing is that he talked about scraping, Elon Musk, and scraping is basically trying to stop basically bots from phishing data and information from Twitter to use it in AI, basically to create a Twitter AI. So that could be, there's two reasons why that could happen, but I agree with that quote from that tweet. So let's focus. Visible comment. For some time, you've told us not to fear what's to come financially. Things seem to be taking a darker turn. Do you still stand by this? Yeah, I do. I do actually, because if you do have some real money outside the system, like physical gold and silver, I think you'll always be okay. And I'm not saying that life will be smooth, but if you keep all your eggs in the fiat basket in a bank, now you can see what can happen. You know, if it can happen to Nigel Farage, it can happen to anyone. And it can happen to people who go into the branch of their bank and complain about that flag that they put up the whole of June. I read that someone got their account at the Yorkshire Building Society canceled because of that. So they're very touchy these days. But Yeah, it looks like they're trying to impose their draconian authoritarian rule on us through the money. But I think the more people get used again to coins, and by coins I don't mean the token coins that we have, I mean gold and silver, the better chance we have. And the you know the fear factor, I still stand by that, because the only thing you have to fear is like fear, really. And I'm not saying I liked FDR, but he said that you should only the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, because they want you scared. So yeah, I stand by that. And do you collect any proof sovereigns or only bullion? I do have some proof coins and some proof sovereigns, but I just try to buy bullion, really. And I do have numismatic coins, but not that much. And usually the premium for proof coins are a bit higher, but they're nice too. I think it's good to have a mixture of everything. It just depends on the individual. Mima Flowers, how do you stack gold and silver? Well, here's some silver coins here. So you put one on top of the other. Stacking is just a term. How do you stack gold and silver? Sorry. Well, you buy physical coins or bars, and that's what it means. Stacking is just basically saving, like maybe our grandparents and great-grandparents, when they saved, they didn't save paper money, they saved real money. That's all stacking is. Hi, Chris Wienert, or is it Weinert? Hope you're doing well. XRP Daddy, CBDC is a no-no. Yeah, and I think you know, the like that guy said, and I think banks, you know, they're already imposing their, you know, the government's mandates on us, and CBDCs is just going to make it easier for them to control us. Right now, they can't. Yeah, that's the way it's going. But my hope is that they lose complete control of the system, that there is a currency collapse and people wake up and say, how can we trust you if you couldn't run the proper system? Or, you know, the system is collapsed. Why should we trust you to rebuild it? Because I don't think CBDCs are going to be any better than fiat currency. They're just fiat currencies with extra controls. Belly Dance Arabia, Miles Franklin. Yeah, someone asked where they can buy gold and silver. Yeah, I have a couple of affiliates in the US. One is Miles Franklin, and the other one is ITM Trading. And in the UK, I've got Gold Investments. All the details are below in the description. And I also am affiliated with Glint, Glint Pay, which they provide a MasterCard, and they have an app, and they store your gold in Switzerland. It's not for everyone. Some people like it. I personally prefer having physical gold and silver, but I do have a Glint account. Carl Jones, what do you think will be the first noticeable phase of a CBDC? Well, I think it will be pilot. They're going to test it with a few people. That's the way I think it's going to be. But I made a video, as I spoke earlier, about the Britcoin, that the Bank of England and the UK Treasury are working on a CBDC, and they only expect it to come into full effect, you know, and they're going to run it parallel to the to our current system, and they're probably going to say oh, don't worry, we're going to keep cash and we're going to run it parallel. But then they're going to have a crisis and they'll use that as an excuse. I think that's the way it's going to be. But yeah, let me see if I've got the okay. Yeah, I haven't got it here, but if you go onto my YouTube channel and go into video content and type CBDC, I did a video this February 2023 about it. Maybe that might help. Mima Flowers is in California. And says Atkinsons are a good bullion dealer. Yeah, I mean, I have used Atkinsons before. They are good. I'm affiliated with Gold Investments. I think they're very good. Did you know that during lockdown in 2020, a lot of the bullion deals closed and didn't deliver gold and silver, but Oliver and Simon from Gold Investments, they work right through lockdown and they delivered it personally to people who bought gold and silver from them because the post wasn't working. So yeah, I highly recommend Oliver and Simon Temple at Gold Investments. And yeah, if their price is a little higher, you can always try to negotiate with them and tell them, look, can you match this price? And I started dealing with their dad back in 2002, and they've been in business since 1981. It's Britcoin, Gene Lee, Britcoin. Jason Warner, good afternoon to you. Broadly speaking, I know sheep champing at their bit for UBI, Universal Basic Income. Oh yeah, they're going to try to bring that on, and I think that's I've written an article about that for the Tyne Valley Express. I write articles for them every 6 weeks or so. I'm going to post it in my blog, Moneko64.net, where I speak about UBI. It's not the road to prosperity. It's the opposite. It's the road to dependency. I think it's even worse than the welfare state. It's like a step further, because who's going to pay? Yeah, the government can only take from Peter to pay Paul, and that's what UBI is. Michael K, nice to see you. Will government, Greg Austin asks, will government allow me to work in my field again to earn currency if it's CBDCs? Rather, will CBDC usher more freedom to earn? Doubtful. I agree with you. Of course, CBDC is just a control, and they're going to link it to all the climate change, the diversity, all the ESG agenda, which I think is another globalist, how can I say, effort to take over things. And I'm not sure they're going to succeed, because as Rafi Faber said, this is akin to them trying to build a Tower of Babel. And it never works when people try to control the world like that, a small group of people. And my hope is that it doesn't work. Belly Dance Arabia. Oh yeah, John Perez. Yeah, I should get him on. I like him. He's a nice guy. Sherpa, do you think the government would ever lie to us about CBDC controls? Yeah, right. That's what they do best, lie, governments. And I think Robert Kennedy Jr. said that his father told him that you can't trust politicians because they all lie. I remember him saying that. Oh, Scooby is in France. Yeah. So what's going on in France? Well, yeah, there are riots over there. They shot a 17-year-old who's trying to drive away from the police. It was a bit over the top. And I speak French, and I've been to France many times. I know a little bit about France, even though I haven't been there in a few years. But what I know about France is that they used to have the North African colonies like Tunisia, Algeria, and I think Morocco as well. And in the 60s, they became independent. But a lot of the North Africans immigrated to France, and they've been there for a few generations, 1, 2, or 3. But the feeling I get is that they don't have, equal treatment. There's discrimination, and I think that's what this is all about. Even the young people who basically French, they were born there. They're not considered the native French. I think discriminate, and I'm not saying the riots are right and all the looting, but that's what I think is happening, and coupled with all the inflation, all the economic slowdown, and it's triggered these riots. But one thing I would say is France going to collapse? I don't think so. I mean, this happened as well in 2005, and President Chirac at the time declared a national emergency. So, but who knows? Things are so crazy in the world that it could spread, not from France to here and to the Netherlands. Who knows? So it's interesting to keep an eye on it. Sol has been stacking since 08. That's good. Yeah, that's the thing. Stacking is just saving, but saving in money, because saving in fiat currency is no good. So that's the way I see it. Road tested. French people like French culture. Well, there's nothing wrong with French culture, but it was the French that went into North Africa, and those people were considered French under the old system. So I think it's all part of this globalist agenda. It's not just happened in France, it's happened in Sweden and Germany and other countries. There's a lot of different, they diversified the population, and that always creates tension. And I think it's part of the divide and conquer strategy that the globalists have used. And here in the UK, the same thing to some extent has happened. Andrew Bevan, Jasmine Burles mentioned tally gold card for Nigel. Or do you think Glint would also might solve this problem? Well, actually, I sent Jason Cousins a comment about Nigel Farage. I think Glint could work. It could work. You just have to wonder whether Glint might get into trouble, but Glint is not a bank, so he wouldn't be able to pay bills. That's the thing, because it's not a bank. He couldn't create direct debits, but he could spend the money or the gold. Yeah, the economy in France is at a standstill. The economy is all over the West are at a standstill, I would say. And the only reason maybe the US economy looks a little more strong, like 2% GDP, is because the government is spending trillions, deficit spending. Here in the UK as well, the economy is, I think the last GDP numbers were 0.2% year on year. Scott 49140 got a decent amount in a savings account, but it's blocked for 2 years. It's going to be worth a lot less in 2 years' time. Wanted to put it into metals. So why is it blocked? Is it because it's a bond and you can only take it out? What if you take it out? Is there a penalty? It might be worth checking that out. Talking about savings accounts, I've been talking about this the last few months because I noticed that I keep a bit of fiat savings for my taxes. And I noticed that NatWest, they've just increased the savings rate to 1.1%. But actually, the government now, even the government has noticed that the banks here in the UK, they're not passing, the rate rises to savers. They're increasing the mortgage rates, but they're being very stingy. So banks brace to give savers a boost as Hunt threatens action. Do I think it's right that the government should tell private businesses what to do? No, but in the case of the banks and governments, they work together. The banks were bailed out by us in 2009. They were bailed out again in 2020. So yeah, we'll see if they increase the rates for savers. Yeah, I see. That's the NatWest there, 1.11%. I mean, if they were paying us 3%, 3.5%, that would be fine for me. But even the 5% rate, that's still way below the currency debasement that we're seeing. So I thought that was interesting. That came out today, the story in the Telegraph there, as you can see. I wanted to show you guys that. So William PMCD, wonder, can you comment on the electrical infrastructure in South Africa? I've heard vaguely about that there's big problems there, but I can't comment any more than that because I'm not too informed on it. But I know that you do have problems. And the reason you're probably asking me that is because of platinum, maybe, because South Africa is a big producer of platinum. So if they can't generate electricity, or it's probably going to be more difficult to mine and process the metals. I guess is that what you are trying to get at? Silver Task. Yeah, I guess the markets will be closed on Tuesday, 4th of July. I think they might be open half a day tomorrow. I'm not sure how it's going to be in the US. Everywhere else will be open and gold will be trading no matter what. What else did I want to show you? Oh, yeah, I wanted to show you guys, because someone said in the comment, I think it was, I forgot who it was, but they said, oh, you don't cover bonds too much. But I do. And this is what the UK has that is troubling here. This is the chart of the 2-year yield. Why is the 2 years so important? Because it sets a lot of the mortgage rates. So as you can see, we were at a negative rate back in 2021. Even in end of 2021, we were at 0, and now we're like at 5.3. And this is back in 1991. We were at 12. So there's still a lot of room. I think the market now thinks that we're going to go up to 6 or 6.25, and that will be it. I think it's going to go a lot higher, unfortunately. That's the UK gilts. Now I want to show you the US 10-year yield, which is very important. It's been kind of stuck in a range here, as you can see, since towards the end of last year. and but I think it's looking like it's going to go higher. So that wouldn't be good either for the markets, I think, because if you look here, and this is yeah, this is kind of interesting. NASDAQ records best start to a year in 4 decades. And yeah, I think the markets are a little bit frothy, the stock markets, but that's just my view. But I think the fact that US, let's see, this one here, this to me looks like it could start picking up. So we got to keep an eye on 4% in the US 10-year yield. And after that, this level here, 4.1. And then the level that I think Jay Powell doesn't want to see that go above is the 4.4, 4.3%. So that's a little bit on the bond market. Mr. Wonderful says, can you make a top 10 or however many recommendations of books? I do have book recommendation videos. So what I would do is go onto my channel, YouTube channel, under video content, and yeah, search for book list or book recommendations, or just type books. And I have videos there, quite a few about my favorite books and books I recommend. Salty Dog says, be careful, Mario, they will unbank you. Well, yeah, I mean, could they? I'm not as popular as Nigel Farage, I don't think, but anything is possible these days. So, Rudy, come here, boy. Got Rudy out again. Say hello, Rudy. There you go. Go back down if you want. Ooh, good boy. Oh yeah, XRP Daddy. There will be the BRICS Summit, August 22nd, 23rd. It's in South Africa, and I think President Macron wants to attend. We wonder whether he'll be able to with what's going on in France. He's a no dust mop. Yeah. Birdie Bear, I have no idea what equities I would buy these days. Bought small mining stocks 1-2 years ago. Yeah, it's a tough environment for mining. I think the miners are very undervalued, but we've been it's been like that for 1.5 years or 2, and it's frustrating. But probably is not a bad time to buy when they're so unloved and so undervalued. What I would say is just like, don't leverage yourself, or put a little bit in there. XRP Daddy, Jim Rickards says they will announce a new currency. Yeah, I mean, that's speculation. I don't think he knows. And I made a video about that. I covered that a couple of weeks ago. It's very possible because if you remember earlier this year, I think President Xi of China went to Moscow, and when he was leaving, they were caught talking, and they said, this is the most important decision for the world in 100 years. And it could be a new currency, who knows? And I think they need to back it with gold. And that's why China's been buying gold and announcing it for the last 6 months. And last year we saw the most net gold buying by central banks since the Bretton Woods system was introduced in 1944. So it's possible. NWO know it all. Always love your shows. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for listening to my shows and to me. Oh yeah, I saw that. Monsieur Macron, he went to a concert while the riots were. Maybe that was his Marie Antoinette moment. He went to see Elton John, right? Or his real name is Dwight Reginald. One thing I wanted to talk about is my health, and hopefully we won't get into trouble. But for about just over a year, when I went to play golf a lot of times and I was walking up, let's say, a steep hill, I was really getting out of breath. Yeah, and yeah, it's really bad. And my legs were like really tired. And I finally decided to go see, the doctor here. And I did some tests and everything's fine. But then someone told me that it could be long, that thing that starts with C, long COVID. And apparently it makes you tired. And I didn't know because I never did any of the tests. But one of you guys, guy that follows me on Twitter, he probably follows my videos, and I did an interview with him. He sent me some, I don't know if I should say it here, that horse medicine. And I never took any of it, but then I decided a couple of weeks ago to take a few. And I played today and I walked because in the last few times I played, I took a golf cart or a buggy. But I like walking because that's what golf is all about. But I can tell you that today I was fine. So maybe that helped. So I'm quite happy about that I was able to play golf, and it was a long golf course and quite fairly hilly, and I felt fine. Pat, Cassie, how would CBDCs work with professional people who earn lots of money and have lots of cash? And if the dollar does collapse, you mean to say people with tons of cash will lose it all? Well, people are already losing by holding cash. They're losing the purchasing power. That's how currencies collapse. They don't disappear. How would it work? I think there is the Bank of England and the Treasury are talking about a £20,000 limit at first, but they will probably increase it. And they said it will run parallel. So eventually, though, it will all go into CBDC, I would say. Spock 2024, thank you for your super chat. Pina, keep walking, Rudy. Yeah, Rudy's under the desk here. He likes staying under the desk. Luna Anahata. It starts with an I and V-E-R. It's just a joke. Yeah, that's the one. Well, I'll write it here. That's the one. Yeah, Scott 49140. Yeah. Davos and the central banks, they would be upset with Nigel Farage if he's warning about CBDCs, because even the Russians and the Chinese and the BRICS, they're into CBDCs. So he's a real outlier. Some people think he's just controlled opposition. Who knows? But not sure. Gianfranco Bergagna, what is COVID? Just imagination. Don't worry, the moment probably is. Well, the thing is that I exercise all the time. I try, and I never felt that before, but now I'm fine. Anyway, Silver Sonic, they will redefine cash to mean CBDC. Well, I would argue that what we have today that's called cash is not cash either. It's been a long-term process. Real cash is like gold and silver. I would say the coins we have today, they're token coins because they don't have any real value. And the dollar bills and the Bank of England notes, they're promissory notes. You can read on the Bank of England note, I promise to pay the bearer. So yeah, and they convinced our grandparents and great grandparents that the receipt for money was actually cash and that token coins were actually cash as well. So this would be a step further to convince us that like state control, basically that's what it is. Digital control of you is cash. So it's in my book that it's total control over you. You're not free. You're a slave. So that's why if Nigel Farage is really against CBDCs, he should be against fiat currency as well, though. I'd never really hear him talk too much about gold and silver. He's gone more into cryptocurrencies, but that's the way I see it. Mr. Wonderful, there's one guest you may want to consider. His name is John J. Dyer. He has a YouTube channel. It's covert, using popular films to expose things and cites books backing his claims. Well, I've been making my videos since late 2015, and I've covered a lot of the supposed conspiracy theories, and never really got too much traction, and a lot of people don't like to hear about that. So what I try to do is to tell people about the fragility and the fraudulent nature of our current it's not even a monetary system because we don't use money. That's what I try to help people with. And I think stacking gold and silver or saving in gold and silver is a good way to take away the power from the powers that be, because it makes you more independent and self-reliant. And it also teaches you to be more disciplined and not to live beyond your means, because you want to keep your savings. You don't want to borrow and live beyond your means. And I think that's a good way to go about it. But if you go on my YouTube channel, on the playlist, I talk a lot about these controversial subjects, and the videos are there. I was trying to expose climate change, the World Economic Forum before 2020. I've got like a lot of stuff on the globalists, Rockefellers, and the bankers and everything. So yeah, go there and have a look. Birdie Bear says, I feel better with having done some stacking. Yeah, it's nice holding some gold and silver. Mr. Wonderful, he's telling me about books about health, slowing down aging. Yeah, I mean, we're all going to get older, right? So yeah, but I guess you can do things to improve things. I think it's good to. The problem is, yeah, you get into bad habits sometimes. I've tried to cut back on like a lot of salt, and I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2015, and I reversed it through my diet. But instead of eating a lot of carbs, I like cheese, and I think that's not very good to eat too much cheese. So I'm trying to be more balanced and more exercise. Oh, Mr. Wonderful says he's watched a lot of my videos, but he's never been on the live stream. Yeah, I do it almost every Sunday. I mean, some days I can't because of family and stuff and friends, but I try to do it every Sunday I start just before 9 p.m. London, which is just before 5 p.m. Eastern time. Endurorama, will they remove the ability to purchase precious metals once CBDC is in place? Well, that's a big if. Will CBDC succeed? I'm not sure if they'll remove the ability. They might put limits on how much you can buy, I would say. That's probably why it's a good time to do it now, if you can. It's better to be too early than one day late, I would say. A spot 49 140. How would gold at 42.22 make sense during 1,000-to-1 reset? Yeah, I've made a video about that. Well, it's because, let's say gold goes to 42,000, right? In current dollars, 42,200, because I did some calculations about the money supply and where gold should really be if we had a 60% backing, and I came to like 42,000. So what would happen there is that they would, if you had $1,000, they would say now that $1,000 worth is $1, one new dollar, and that would be. But then if you had gold, that new, your gold ounce would be $42.22. And I did the calculations, and this doesn't mean to say that you would lose out, because compared to the people who held fiat, you would be much better off. So that's how 42.22 would work. And the reason I use that is because the statutory price of the U.S. Gold held at Fort Knox and other depository institutions is $42.22. Yeah, and if you watch that video, I explain how people with gold would be better off. No, shame the figure. No, it wouldn't be. No, you have to think in terms of ounces. You would be a lot better off. People who have gold would be a lot better off. People who have fiat would really not do well at all. It's all about purchasing power. It's all about relative value. And they've done that in many other, other countries where they have had a lot of inflation. William P. MCD, crime might reduce enormously on the gold-based economy. Well, Yeah, I would say it would, because the government and the bankers wouldn't be able to steal our purchasing power as much. They wouldn't be able to inflate in a honest weight and measures system. The counter argument is that, oh, we need a fiat currency for the economy to grow. No, but the economy grows through production and creation of wealth by people, not by the creation of money out of thin air. Sam Lanknot, this is what I mean: for those who don't get Britannia's due to the king, but lack the content in precious metals. I don't really care too much who's on the coin, whose face is on the coin, as long there is gold and silver. You know, I don't really like the fact that King Charles is pushing the agenda of the World Economic Forum, the globalist agenda. But if I can get a good gold coin and it has his face on it, I don't really care. As long as it's got gold. Ideally, you know, I'd have Rudy's face on it, on the sovereign, but unfortunately, I can't do that. Bill Gates, Michael O'Toole. Bill Gates has got some nice food coming out on the market for your diet. No, I'm not into fake food. Echo. I've got some silver and gold coins with Chucky 3 Sticks face on it. Why Chucky 3 Sticks? Well, there's a golfer called Charles Howell III on the PGA Tour, and they call him Chucky 3 Sticks because he's the third. So Charles the Third. Synthetic meat, yeah, don't like that. Scoobyism wants Rudy on the. We could have Rudy on one side and Billy on the other. Oh, I'm actually talking about Billy. One of you, I don't know who it was, but they contacted Gold Spartan Custom, and they had a 3.2 ounce silver coin or metal, and guess who's on it? There's Billy. So there you go. That was a nice present. So Billy, Billy died December 12th last year, and Rudy was born December 1st, and he came to live with us in February. So he was 7 months yesterday. Chucky sobs. Yeah, Billy was a good boy, wasn't he? Yeah, but so's Rudy. You know, we've got 3 minutes, so maybe if you want to ask any more questions, because we're gonna, we're approaching 10 o'clock. Do you think the UK will see high unemployment? I think we're already seeing a lot of people not working because the people on benefits and universal basic, not universal credit, it's gone up massively, and that's why the unemployment numbers don't look that bad. But I think we will actually, they won't even be able to hide what's coming, I think. But yeah, and if you remember, I don't know if you've read the When Money Dies, during a crack up boom and even high inflation, yeah, people take on jobs. There's a lot of jobs, but I think eventually we will see unemployment. And I think we're already seeing it's just masked by the people who are on benefits and yeah. Danny Younghead, what's going to happen next week in regards to precious metals? They're still going to be precious. That's the way I see them. And they're going to become even more precious in the future. I think you wanted me to talk about the fiat price. I mean, we actually, I think on Thursday, we went below $1,900 for gold. But then it recovered and it closed almost around 1920, which was a really key level because that was the high from 2011. And I think the bankers didn't want it closing above that level on a quarterly basis. But who knows what gold and silver are going to do in the short term, that is. Silver Task says, can't look up universal credit on Facebook, it's banned. Well, universal credit is like the it's like the, the dole here in the UK. They put everything under universal credit. It's like the welfare payments. Doremos says gold price in the UK has slumped due to weak pound. No, you've got it backwards. The gold price has dropped in sterling because the pound has gone up against the dollar. That's why the dollar, the pound has gone from like 120 to like 127. But that's normal, these fluctuations. But as I've said before, all fiat currencies are going to sink and going to continue to sink. So I wouldn't be too concerned personally. Just the last question here from Scott. Didn't a lot of silver get drained from COMEX? Yeah, I've been hearing that from Rafi Farber was talking about that in the Endgame Investor that I received today. The open interest is very low, which is a positive, and just over 6 million ounces are ready for delivery. So yeah, something's going on there. It's interesting to follow these things, but longer term, our goal should be to just keep buying physical. Eventually, the COMEX, that's going to be, that exchange is going to disappear because it's really mostly a paper gambling. It's like a bucket shop. So there you go. With that, I'm going to call it a day. Yeah, COMEX is a bucket shop. And if you don't know what a bucket shop is, Google bucket shop and you'll see what it is. So thank you, everyone, for coming on the live stream. And I wish you all a very good week. And I'll talk to you later. Take care.